Oh, shoot, an error occurred. Wait a moment, then try again. Oh, we don't need this today.
Something just momentarily came up that said broadcast live, but then it went back off.
Ah, hold on. Let's see what's going on.
I've got something in the upper left hand corner that says live.
Oh, okay. So we are live, ready to go live. Now we are live. Okay. If any of you caught all of that, that's just behind the scenes getting ready. Hello, hello. I am Lee Watts with the Academy of Creative Coaching. Welcome to Mindfulness Cafe. We are super excited to be here today. We have a wonderful guest, Victor McGuire from Coaching for Everyone. Welcome, Victor.
It's good to be here.
Great. We are so happy to have you and so happy to dive into some great conversations today. And just really bring exposure and information to all the coaches that watch us and to just the various different people. And we're going to really hopefully give people things to think about. I know every time I talk to you, you say something with wisdom and something that makes me think. And so I know you're going to bring that today as well. So I'm excited about this conversation. So I want to get started with before I go into I'm gonna talk about your bio and who you are a little bit as we go, but I want to
Hmm.
start with something that I read, a question, and then we'll dive into this. So you are the founder and executive director for Coaching for Everyone, which is a nonprofit that is committed to bringing coaching and leadership, certified coaching and leadership to minority populations and just helping them along the way. So we're going to dive into that. But I saw a question that you posed in one of your bios, and I thought it was so powerful. And I thought it's a great way to kick off this conversation. And that was that the how are we oh I'm sorry about the question was about how coaching, if everyone had the same coaching access as white
Hmm.
as and I thought I wrote down the exact quote and I didn't write it down, but if everyone had that same
Hmm.
access
Hmm.
and same exposure, if
Mm.
blacks, minorities, like I mean, all of us had that same exposure, what would be different? How would our lives be different? How would our careers, our workplaces, and all be different? So
Mm.
tell us a little bit about that. Why does that make a difference?
Well, that was really the question that ignited coaching for everyone. I asked a simple question: what would it be like if everyone had the equal opportunity to have coaches? What if the entire BIPOC population, had that opportunity? And in essence, we're talking, because we know coaching is it's a journey. It's a journey of self-awareness. It's about really being intentionally conscious of your existence. It helps you understand some of the limiting beliefs that you might have about yourself. It helps you answer those three questions, in a coaching scenario. Where are you?
Yeah.
Where would you like to be? And what are you willing to do to get there? Well, I wanted to know, what would it be like if if the BIPOC population was, if they had the opportunity to be involved in coaching, not only in receiving coaching, but it also in the possibility of being a certified coach. We have so many professional people, BIPOC individuals that have been in leadership roles for years and have been doing a level of coaching and advising and or mentoring, but they may not be certified.
Yes.
They simply may not be certified in coaching. And so I wanted to know, what would it be like if we empowered them and gave them those those tools and added to their tool, to their toolbox. It's really about, you know, freeing up freeing up energy. So we're not always spending time and energy on negative thoughts and judgments and criticisms sort of ourselves, but really moving that energy into positive, life affirming, um, ways of being.
Yes,
So
I
yeah,
love I
yeah.
love that freeing up energy.
Yeah.
That's amazing. So I was listening and reading about you prior to our conversation, this interview, and you have had your background. You've done a lot of different things, teaching, school administrator, university professor, and then, of course, a certified coach. And I heard that honestly, your coaching career started off to some degree being a middle school teacher and traveling to China and running into someone, and it kind of like spiraled from there.
Hmm. Hmm.
So, what was the name of that program
It was
that
called,
kicked this all
yeah,
off?
that after school program was called Spice of Life. And
Yes.
Spice of Life started in a middle school in Colorado Springs um, in the mid '80s. I was at a school that um, that was part of the Air Force Academy. It was Air at that time. It was called Air Academy Junior High, and actually, it's the first middle school named after the Challenger explosion. And so I was there working with all different types of students and always asking them a variety of different questions. What would it be like if you did something for someone else today? The more
Mm,
you do for others, the better you feel about yourself. So we started this after school program. I said, if I create this after school program, would you like to be involved with it? And I literally went around person by person, student by student, asking them. They said, well, what are we going to do? And I said, well, we're going to deal with self esteem, motivation, communication, time management, mentoring, and service learning. And we're going to do all of this in a
right.
6 week span. So we're going to meet after school. You're going to tell your story. We're going to write a little play, and that name of that play turned into a book, but the name of the play was called No Negatives. And we're in the process of doing the fourth edition of No Negatives right now.
Oh, this
And yes, and so we had 16 students, and we did exactly what we said we were going to do as far as diving into those areas. And then we wrote this little play. We took it around to elementary schools and to senior citizens homes, and we performed it. And then we got a little recognition. And one group turned into a second group. I remember the assistant superintendent came to me and he says, Victor, I've got a positive problem. I said, well, what are you talking about? He goes, I got an issue. He goes, parents. I have parents that are calling me saying, I want my son or daughter in this spice of life thing that you've created. And I said, well, this is my team. I said, I said, I get that, but this is the team. He goes, no, I understand that. I just want you to have another team. And I said, so let me ask you this: if a parent called and said, I want my son or daughter on the basketball team or on the football team, would you ask the coach to create another team?
right, right.
He says, no, you got a point. He says, you actually have a point, but I still need another group.
Yeah.
So one group turned into two, turned into five, turned into seven, turned into getting funded by the governor's office and training other schools within Colorado, and an after school program turned into a summer camp, turned into a book. So, yes, that was the beginning of
Wow.
my leadership training. And so then, fast forward about 20 years, a friend, I was in China and was coming back on a trip, and a friend was in Denver,
Hmm.
and she ran into another colleague of mine and asked, "Where's Victor? I'd like to speak to him. I'd like to speak to him in regards to being a facilitator for our company. And so, and they said, oh yeah, and they go, well, I remember that Spice of Life group that he used to have years and years ago, and what he was doing with teenagers, we're now doing with adults
Wow.
primarily. And
Yeah.
so we like to hire him, and so that was, that was the beginning. That was about 10 years ago.
Okay.
So it's all connected. It's
Yes.
all connected. Yeah.
Yes. I love it. So how long has Coaching for Everyone been around?
Coaching for Everyone launched um, a week before lockdown.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, a week before lockdown. And I was already working from home, and lockdown happened, and we just put our heads down, and then started with all of the areas of focus that we needed to put into play to start a nonprofit. If it's applying, if it's fundraising, if it's having a director of coaching and recruiting, and putting together our verbiage and our message of what we're going to do. But all that happened, started to happen literally a week before lockdown. So
Wow.
we're about 2 years old. Yeah,
Right. Right.
about
Right.
2 years old.
And so essentially, as a nonprofit, you all develop these cohorts and make
Mm-hmm.
sure you get coaching certification
Mm-hmm.
for for your students and your coaches, and then they are. And I like the way I've heard you describe this. That it's not necessarily a company just paying for it all for them. They have to
Right,
have sweat equity into this and
right, right. We do. We ask that they make an investment in themselves.
yes.
Um, because we all know, the best investment that you can make is in yourself. You know this as an entrepreneur. And so we want them to make an investment in themselves. And we even ask them to make an investment in the next group. We have something called Pay It Forward. And
Mhm.
so we ask that each group collectively do a small fundraiser. Maybe they raise $10,000, $15,000, and that goes to support the next group. Even though we ask for them to make an investment, it still doesn't cover the entire cost of their coach, of their coach training. Um, but but so far so good. We have about 127 in the pipeline. That
Wow.
is either in the beginning or the latter stages of finishing up certification. Um, we have offered pro bono coaching, which is another part of our mission, to over 150 um, individuals, and it's probably even higher. Um, and so our bigger picture is that we are providing coach training to, between 350, 450, 500 a year. That's what we're
Wow.
looking to
That's
do a
awesome.
year. And so we have lots of good work ahead of us. We still have to fundraise. We still, I tell people all the time, yeah, we've got this nice red shiny new car that everybody wants to get in, and they want to sit in the driver's seat and get their hands on the wheel and everything, and that car's looking great, and you look really good in the car. But guess what? It's not going nowhere with no gas or no electricity.
Yeah.
It's just going to sit there. And
Right.
so we need gas and we need electricity to continue with our mission. And that's, we tried to keep it simple, but it is. The bottom line is we're just trying to democratize the world of coaching and have more BIPOC individuals in
Yeah.
leadership roles of coaching.
Right. Yeah. And I want to touch on a couple of points. So many thoughts are coming to me right now, but I've read this when I was again researching you, and I've heard you kind of mention it a little bit in our conversation today. The certification piece. It's not that you're just trying to like say, "Hey, you guys want to be a coach? Let me show you."
Mm-hmm.
Certification is important to you, and for this process. Tell me why the certification piece is necessary, especially in a day and time when there are so many people. saying they're coaches, but
Right,
not
right.
necessarily
Well,
with.
the industry is still young. The industry has evolved. And so at one time, there was no ICF. At
Yeah.
one time, there was no certification. And so they banded together. They created the governing body. They created a way in which to separate um, separate individuals that were certified and were not. I find that being certified, and there are, I run into people all the time that have been doing their brand of coaching for years, and why do I need to be certified? And it's a classic case of you don't know until you're in it. You
Wow.
don't realize what you don't know
Mhm.
until you're in it. There have been so many people that I know for that have been in leadership roles and doing leadership training for years. And then they go through 1 day of coach training, 2 days of coach training, and they say, oh gosh, Victor, this is exactly what I needed. This is a quote that someone told me just in a training just 2, 3 weeks ago. This is exactly what I needed to ignite myself because you're right. I have been in leadership roles and I am, but there's a difference between coaching and advising. There's a difference between coaching and therapy. There's a difference. And I tell people, I say, hey, people say, well, what's the difference? Coaching, therapy. And I go, therapy tends to look back.
Yes.
Coaching tends to look forward.
Yes.
That's one simple way to look at it.
Yeah.
Okay. Advising, you're spending time and energy on telling the person you're communicating with what to do.
Yeah.
Okay. When you're coaching, you're setting them up with powerful questions so
Mhm.
they figure out what to do.
I love it.
So there is a difference. And in the professional world now, if you want to look for employment within any Fortune 500 organization, the first thing they're going to ask you is, "Are you certified?"
Yes. Yeah.
They might not ask you where are you certified from, but
Mhm.
they want to know that you're ICF certified.
Yes.
And if
Yes.
you can say yes to that, then you're good.
Great. I love that. I love that. So thank you for just taking us through that. I hope that really inspires someone who's on the fence, because we have a lot of listeners and our purpose driven coaches that are not certified and maybe trying to decide. And so I hope this really helped lay that out on why certification is so important. So let's
Absolutely.
talk about some of the impact you've seen with some of the coaches that have been through Coaching for Everyone. What have you seen on the other side? They've gone through and they're in the workplace or they're in their communities. And
Yeah.
what it
Yeah.
what
We're still, our very first group is about 80% done with being certified. So they haven't finished, but you are seeing and hearing all kinds of of feedback in regards to I'm a better listener. I observe much. I see things that I didn't see before. I
right,
hear things that I didn't hear before. I'm able to offer new perspectives on areas of focus that weren't there before. In essence, they are becoming students of coaching,
wow,
not just students in coaching. Okay?
yes,
They're becoming students of it. And the people that have gone through our certification program were professionals anyway. They were already doing their their respective jobs long before coaching for everyone was a gleam in somebody's eye. So
yeah,
they were professionals anyway, and now they're becoming students of of coaching, and they realize the impact that they can have, the opportunities that they'll be able to provide, and the potential that they will be able to activate in
Yes.
others. And they're realizing that look at the opportunity that I get to change and enhance the lives of others. Look
Right.
at that opportunity. And so that's what you're hearing. And they're grateful for the opportunity, and they're grateful and thankful for the opportunity that is even ahead of them. Okay.
That's
So
amazing.
I
Yeah.
hear a lot of that. And
Yeah.
we're, like I said, we're just getting started.
That's
I
exciting.
I can't
Really.
wait till we get to a point where we have thousands. We're creating
Mhm.
an association. The Coaches of Color Network.org, and
Yes.
we'll with this organization, we're looking to have all the coaches of color join so that we can have a really strong community of coaches of color that can come to the table and all share all in their experiences. But think of an association that has conferences, that has webinars, that has podcasts, that has a magazine. That's what we're looking to create. And so we'll probably launch this in, I'd say, July, August. It looks like,
Okay.
but we are working on it pretty much daily.
Wonderful. I love
Yeah.
it. I love it. So, speaking of opportunity, um,
Mhm.
and then also when you all launched and started. So that was kind of divine in a way because with the pandemic, we've seen workplaces change
Mhm.
drastically. Mindsets, just culture.
Mhm.
And coaches, especially obviously in the workplace, impact culture undoubtedly.
Mhm.
So how have you or what are your thoughts? Maybe not what you have seen
Yeah.
so far, but your
Mm.
thoughts on especially these Fortune 500, 100 companies that are now, I've noticed, saying we need coaches. We
Yeah.
need someone with that type of background.
Well, what's happening, what we hear a lot about is the migration, the great migration,
Yes.
people leaving, but but here's another perspective. It, People aren't walking away from work, they're walking towards themselves.
Yes. Oh my
Okay?
gosh. I got
They're
chills.
not walking
Yes.
away, they're walking towards themselves,
Yeah.
and they want to get more in touch with what it is that motivates, excites, what are their strengths, what they want more of themselves, as
Mm.
opposed to giving all of themselves to that Fortune 500. And and then those that are staying and those that are there, Fortune 500s are realizing that um, we have to take care of all of our people.
Yeah.
Okay, we have to take care, because if we don't take care of our people, then they will come up with a way to take care of themselves, and
Yeah.
they should be doing that anyway. They
Yes.
should be putting that oxygen mask on themselves first.
Hmm.
We hear that anytime we fly, right?
Right.
And so before you can take care of anyone else. But that's what's going on. People are realizing that they're stepping towards themselves. And they might not know what that means, but they know that if they don't move in that direction, then there will never be a change.
Yeah.
One day I was on campus. This was during my master's, and I was walking to the student center, and it was a light snow. There was a light snow out, and I noticed that I was not on the path going to the student center, but I was headed in that direction.
Hmm.
And I stopped, put my backpack down, because it hit me. If we believed in walking down life's beaten path, we would seldom make any tracks of our
Mm,
own.
mm.
Okay.
Wow.
I wrote that in 1981. If we believed in walking down life's beaten path, we would seldom make any tracks of our own.
I
And
love.
that's what's happening.
Yes.
People making their own tracks.
Yes.
They're making their
Absolutely.
own tracks.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Um, so I also want to talk about before we go any further, well, two things. I'm so happy that the Academy of Creative Coaching has just been helping with the certification and coaching,
Mm,
um, and this whole vision, and it just was such a perfect alignment because of our purpose and vision as well as a company. So we're excited about that, and I know we have a cohort I think going on right now, or
yeah.
so we're excited. We're excited. Um, but I also don't. I want to hear more about velocity as well.
Mm,
So you're a busy man. You got a lot going on.
yeah. Yeah. Well, Velocity was the leadership organization, for-profit company that I started before um, CFE, and primarily we offer leadership training. And but there's a little different spin to it. The question on the website is as follows, and I believe in asking questions in order to get answers, right?
Right. Right.
So the question is, are your BIPOC employees requesting a BIPOC coach?
Right.
And the short answer is, well, yes.
Yeah.
And so is that is what we're doing. We're offering leadership training and coaching. So primarily, it's a 2-day leadership, face to face and or virtual program, and then a 6-month coaching practice.
Yeah.
And Velocity is the sister organization to Coaching for Everyone, because a percentage of the proceeds from Velocity go to support Coaching for Everyone. And so Velocity's been around for about 5 years, about 4.5 years or so, going on 5 years, and it just was a great match per
Yes.
se. So we have some people that are working with Coaching for Everyone that also coach for Velocity. So we are a vendor of a couple of organizations right now where we provide coaching services to their BIPOC employees. We have um, a relationship right now with Twitch, and we provide coaching services to all their African American um, employees that want coaching.
Wonderful.
That
Wonderful. Wonderful.
yeah.
I love it. Um, Before we go, there was something else I picked up when I was reading just the different websites and bios and things, and a little bit of your focus on people, and I suppose it's due to your background.
Mm,
There is a focus I notice on educators and making
mm,
sure that they either get certified or coaching. Tell me a little
mm.
bit about your perspective on just the field, the academia and education field, and
Right, right. Well, that's where I got my start.
yeah,
So I was a classroom teacher, junior high teacher and high school teacher and principal and university professor. So to me, it made sense to offer either pro bono coaching or coach certification to really K-16 educators, because you walk into an elementary classroom, okay, and I used to train teachers when I was at the university. And even though I might be working with junior high or high school pre-service teachers, I would say first, the first thing, observation that you do is to go and spend 2 hours in any third grade classroom.
mhm,
Okay, because because they do it all. The hardest working people in in my opinion in
Okay.
education are our elementary educators
Yeah.
because they're teaching multiple subjects. They're with the students the entire time and it's nonstop and they are based on system after system after system.
Hmm.
It can be reading system on the carpet. It can be where do you put your papers that you've been working on, homework, pencils, but it's all based on systems. Well, I believe that if you if you were able to acquire systems early and learn from the best in the business, and those were elementary teachers in my then, and you were able to transfer some of those systems into a middle school or high school environment, you'd be a better teacher. And
Yeah.
so it just made sense to me that educators were a part of this mission. I will
Yeah.
always do work, I'll always do work with educators. Like I said, we're coming out with a new book for middle school students called, a new edition um, of No Negatives. Um, there's a children's book that will probably come out with another edition for called Takia and Thunderheart's Life Garden. So I'll always dabble in the K-16.
I love it. I love it. So all of our educators that are watching, um, think about this. Think about getting your certification. Think about just how this can help you. The whole coaching aspect. There's definitely a correlation and a direct fit for that. So that's really exciting. So, just as we begin to close out, thinking about leadership. And
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that also was a word that kept coming up in on the websites and coaching and leadership. There are a lot of overlap, obviously.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
What's important for leaders to know now as they move forward? What are some of those skill sets and mindsets that leaders need to either adapt or make sure they have in their tool
Mm.
as we move?
There are so many, but here's just one simple one. Are you listening for understanding,
Mm,
or are you speaking to be heard? That's a question you can ask yourself.
yes.
And if and as a leader, if you are listening for understanding as opposed to speaking to be heard, you're on the path to some strong leadership. So listen to your people,
Yes.
listen to yourself, but
Yes.
put yourself in um, a listening position.
I love it. And that is such a great way to conclude this interview. There were so many great nuggets today. I was trying to resist the urge to write and let's talk and because I'm trying to listen, right? I was like, okay, Lee, you can go back and play the replay and get all your quotes that you want to reshare on LinkedIn. So thank you so much, Victor. This has been wonderful. I've really enjoyed meeting you from the first time, and then of course working with you through ACC. And just that I want to actually share some of the comments. Are we have a lot of people commenting. Samantha Baker Harris. It just says so many nuggets. Thank you so much. Jay Hurt, awesome interview, enjoyed it. He also loved the quote, people aren't walking away from work, they are walking towards themselves. A lot of people resonated with that, said that was powerful. And so, again, someone loved the sweat equity comment, just investing in yourself. That's really important.
Mm, mm.
So
Well,
I'm
well,
full, I'm good today.
for everyone, we are at the beginning stages of our partnership with ACC, but we know that we're going to do big things, and we're all excited about it.
Yeah,
So
big things. I'm so excited. Sometimes we have our head down and we're busy, doing social media and press
yeah,
releases and doing all these things. You forget about the impact. that you're making overall on people's
Mm,
lives, and coaching certainly does that, you know?
absolutely.
So,
Absolutely.
thank you for the reminder, just that fuel to keep going, keep going. So thank you so much, Victor.
Thank you, Lee. Take care.
All right, have a good one.
Have a
Thank
great day and a great week.
you too.
Bye bye.